Madam Clerk, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Everything's being recorded?
Yes.
All right. We're going to call to order the Effingham County Commissioners Board meeting this June 6, 2023 at 5 o'clock p.m. We'll begin with roll call. Mr. Floyd.
Here.
Mr. Burdette. Here. Mr. Corbett is here. Mr. Deloach.
Here.
Mr. Loper. He is absent. Mr. Kiefer.
Here.
He is here. We have a quorum with our roll call. I'm going to ask everyone if they please rise for the invocation going to be given to us by Commissioner Burdette, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Heavenly Father, what a privilege it is to be here today. I'm so honored to be here, Father, and I pray that what we do and what we say is honoring to you, Lord, tonight. And I pray we do our best for our constituents and the people around us, Father, and for everybody that works so hard. Pray for those that are sick or in poor health, Father, and I just pray for a great meeting tonight. So in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Burdette. That moves us down to our agenda approval, consideration of a resolution to approve our agenda. Is there any additions to or corrections to our agenda tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, staff is requesting the removal of items under unfinished business, number 2, 3, and 4.
2, 3, and 4?
Yes, sir.
I'll
Is
make a
that-
motion to approve the agenda with the noted changes.
Are those being removed completely or postponed?
Removed.
Okay, all right.
They'll
we-
come back at a later date.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of items 2, 3, and 4 under unfinished business by Mr. Deloach. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Kiefer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Hearing no no's, we have an agenda unanimously approved. Next item are our minutes. Consideration to approve the May 16, 2023 work session and regular meeting minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, our minutes are passed unanimously. I want to welcome our folks from the community tonight. It's good to have a good showing of constituents here. Ask that comments shall pertain to the agenda items only. Should you wish to make remarks about any agenda items, please come to the microphone, state your name clearly. As this is being recorded, it helps the clerk take more accurate minutes. And if you can keep your comments to 2 or 3 minutes, that's very helpful, so others can have a chance to speak to a matter. All our correspondence for our documents are in the clerk's office and the Board of Commissioners website, and so I hope everyone's had a chance to review those. And it's a little early, but I think our 510 is here for a presentation. Jenna Morris, is she not here? With Safe Kids of Savannah? We want to come back to that?
Might be running late.
Okay. What time is it?
5:05.
5:05, we've still got 5 minutes. We can come back. I'll go through the consent agenda, and we'll come back and check in just a few minutes to see if she's here to make her presentation tonight. The consent agenda, this section shall include all routine items for which there will be no discussion. Should a need arise for debate, the item can be removed to the appropriate area of the agenda. It's kind of long, so if you'll bear with me. Item number 1 in the consent agenda is a funding request, consideration to approve, to ratify and affirm a supplemental funding request from Atlas for the Effingham Parkway and Gateway Connection Parkway. Item number 2, consideration to approve and execute a capacity agreement with the State of Georgia Department of Corrections. Item number 3, consideration to approve to renew the agreement for lodging excise tax distribution with the Effingham County Chamber of Commerce. Item 4, consideration to approve the SAVE, S-A-V-E affidavit anticipated collection addendum from the non-federal sources. Item number 5 in the consent agenda is consideration to approve Amendment 2 to the professional service agreement with the Effingham County Chamber of Commerce. Item number 6 is consideration to approve to renew the vet services agreement with Effingham Animal Hospital. Item number 7 is consideration to approve a contract with State of Georgia for Family Connection for the fiscal year 2024. Item number 8 is consideration to approve to ratify and affirm an underground easement agreement between Georgia Power and the Board of Commissioners. Item number 9 is consideration to approve to recognize and add defund/add position for Development Services Department. Item number 10 is consideration to approve to cancel the July 4th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting, as this is the 4th of July. Item number 11, consideration to approve to appoint Rebecca Boston to the Department of Behavioral Health and Development Disability Regional Advisory Board. That is the 11 items on our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Deloach to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, our consent agenda is passed unanimously. So we'll move to unfinished business. We only have 2 items tonight since 3 have been removed. One is a second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Three Bird Development LLC to rezone 39.46 acres located on Highway 30 from AR1 to R3 to allow for a 213-unit multifamily residential development, map number 352, parcel number 18 in the 1st District. This was postponed from May 16th, 2023. There were no additional conditions. It was because we didn't have a unanimous vote that we have the second reading tonight. Do I have a motion to approve the second reading?
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Deloach to approve the second reading. All in favor of approving the second reading, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, the second reading passes unanimously. Item number 5. Consideration to approve the second reading of the budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024. And I believe we have a little presentation with that.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. I'm Mark Lawrence, Finance Director. This is the second reading of the proposed fiscal year 2024 budget. And last month, we did the first reading. And during that presentation, we took a real in-depth dive into the budget. And for tonight, I'm just going to briefly go over the changes to the proposed budget since that time. So overall, there's been very few changes since the first reading. In the general fund, we have updated the preliminary digest numbers, and so that did result in an overall increase in revenues. The budget is still built around the full 1.0 mil rollback. On the expense side in the general fund, the only change is a slight increase to the capital equipment for elections. And having the new digest numbers in and that increased the revenues, we now project to build up about $500,000 in fund balance rather than spending about $2.5 million in fund balance. The overall spending level of the general fund is changed only by that $7,000 capital item, so it's still sitting at $47.9 million overall. In the special funds, again, the digest updates has some revenue increases there. On the expenditure side, though, the only change was there is a new litter officer position proposed in the sanitation fund, and there's also a vehicle for that position for that officer to drive in. Overall, the special fund expenditure level is still sitting at, was $157.4 million in the first reading, and it's $157.5 in the second reading, with the litter officer being the only change there. And other than that, that's the entirety of the presentation. Those were the only changes from the first reading. And so if there's any questions or comments.
I know we're looking at some fees that we may have to increase. I don't know about sanitation, water. Are those possible fee increases? They're not in this budget, right?
They are not. And generally, when we do a fee increase, we usually don't account for it in the first year, simply because we unlike a digest number, it's not a solid estimation of fees, and we usually do incremental increases. So if we end up just performing a little bit better in that fund for the first year than we budget for it the second year.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. Are there any other questions from the board? If we want to make some comments, probably.
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, just reiterate what we talked about last time. So with this, our fund balance, our reserves will remain above 25%, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, I think we added about 16 positions on staff, which, I mean, staff sees that we need those, so hopefully that will help provide better customer service experience, meeting the needs, still rolling back our portion of the millage rate by, I guess, 1 point, and still maintaining a AA bond rating, so 1 rating away from AAA, which is the top.
That's correct.
So, okay.
And a meal that we're rolling back is worth how much money? What's a meal?
I'd have to calculate it. It's around 2.3,
No,
I think.
it's about 3.15 now.
3.15.
Yeah, I thought it was close
Yeah,
to
it
2.2.
went up from last year, and so countywide, that mill is worth 3.15.
What does that equate to for a typical home or typical citizen paying taxes? What's the savings there? Or the
think about
rollback,
$600 or
what was that?
$700.
Any idea what kind of figure?
Well, and because there's two components here, and so what we do, like we traditionally do, we roll back our millage to account for any increases in assessments, and so we did that this year again. But then we doubled that rollback essentially, and so 50% of it's a rollback, and then 50% of it's a tax cut. And so I think if you...
For our share, if I could inject that, for,
Yeah.
say, a $300,000
Yeah,
home,
so I'm just, people like numbers,
a
what-
$300,000 home, it'd be $120,
Yeah.
and your taxes roll back. 40% of that 300,000 times 1 meal.
That's right.
And 400,000
But-
would be 160.
But it would be about 60, I would think, because if the value of their property went up along with the rest of the county, then if we didn't roll back, their taxes would go up. So 60 of that deduction goes towards negating that increase, and then another $60 off of that further for lowering the tax bill.
What's
I
the
just think that's good
proposed-
information to the
Yeah, absolutely.
taxpayer.
What's this M&O millage? What are we using?
We're going to use 5.993. Last year was 6.993.
And I want to say what you just said another way, too, that we had about $600 million in assessed value increase in our digest. But we are rolling back, just so the constituents know, we're rolling back that assessment. If you owned property last year, we're rolling the values back so you'll pay no more taxes. But in addition to that, we're rolling another $500,000, and that's what you're speaking to. So if you are looking at the county's digest, you will get a reduced tax bill for our share, which is the general fund of the county. We don't control the school, the IDA, and the other portions. They'll have to determine what they do with their millage. But for the county's millage, you will get a reduction in your tax bill,
Even though the value of your property went up. more
even
than
though the value of the property went up. So that all of our increase, and I think it's around 1.3 million in our budget for our property tax increase for our revenues, all of that's coming from new construction. It's hard to get our mind around that, I know, but basically what we're saying is the only property tax increase we're gonna get as a commission, and I think you, as a board, know this, is just coming from the new construction, because we've rolled back the assessed value and then another $500,000 to give you a tax break. So the 1.3 is all coming from new construction. Okay, you wanna say something?
Yeah, and we also have the COLA and the merit increases in this budget as well.
Yeah.
I left that off.
It's
Yeah.
good news. I mean, it's good.
Yeah,
Am I calculating that right? That's a 14% reduction from
That's right.
the last, okay.
That's right. Year over
In
year.
sake of numbers, 14% is what the millage is
Yeah.
going back.
So we'll see a hard savings this time, not
Yeah.
just equaling out.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I
Again,
think-
it goes back to individual assessments. We don't control the assessments, and I think that's worth
We
noting.
tried to accommodate for that plus.
That's right, that's right.
But we can roll back to keep the assessment not impacting.
Correct, correct.
But from talking with our county manager today, I think we're the only county in 5 counties around us, maybe more, but certainly around us, that
Yeah, of the 3 counties I was able to get the reports back, one of them was doing an actual increase, not rolling back anything, but actually doing an increase, and then 2 other were not rolling back. So counts as an increase, but it's not an increase in millage. So this is kind of unique for the region.
Yep. And we are getting another tax decrease for all our property owners from the governor, right? Or is that just residential?
A primary residential.
That's residential, okay.
Yeah, so primary residential will be getting on average an additional $500 reduction just this 1 year as a result of a rebate from the governor.
So good news for our residential, and I guess that's the homestead, 500.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they expanded the homestead for this 1 year for that equivalent.
So when that goes back on the next year.
It's not a tax
never mind.
increase.
Yeah. Next year, we're gonna get calls, they're gonna say, why'd you increase our taxes?
Yeah.
But it's because they got this 1 year rollback from the governor of another $500. Great work on the budget. I'm excited that we were able to help our staff with some increases in some positions and some resources. Increase some of our services, and the cost of those services during this inflationary time, but did it in a way that we didn't have to put that burden on our residents. We're trying to put more on our commercial and our industrial particularly. That's really helped us be able to roll back these taxes. As you look at these warehouses, look at the industry, it's creating revenues that allow us, we've always wanted to do, take the industrial and roll back the residential taxes. So,
It's worth noting the transportation penny also has done a lot to allow this.
yes, absolutely. So good budget, good, appreciate the staff working so hard on that, and excited about it. Any other questions or comments from anyone on the board? Do I have a motion to approve the second reading of a wonderful budget, I think?
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Uh,
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. So we have our budget for the fiscal year.
I think the presenter may have walked in at 5:10, didn't they?
Did they?
The public, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Let me go back to the clear. Jenna Morris, is she, there she is, okay.
Sorry, I got locked out.
That's okay. We're gonna go back to Ms. Morris has got a presentation tonight from
Is there a
Safe
chance
Kids
I can
Savannah.
hook up a computer, or do you want me to just talk?
It'd only take me a second, so
Yeah,
you have your computer?
I do.
You can set it up there.
Log in.
yeah, right there.
Here we go. I'm sorry, I'm like in my own world today. Yeah, the computer is very slow.
Sorry.
I got locked out of the building. I can't type. I do have some papers if they want to put something in them.
I'll plug this in. As soon as this comes up, I'll just hit this button.
This computer has a mind of its own.
So this
As long as
should-
it doesn't try to restart itself 3 times, we will be.
Oh, do you have a USB 2 or no?
USB, yeah, should be one of these. Yep. I believe it's a C.
Okay. And then it should just. Second.
see, Drive, it was doing a share, it popped up as something to share.
Are we gonna be able to do it, or do we just need to let her share with us?
It just has to
Give me
connect
one
to the
sec, if it doesn't
device.
work, then,
There it
yeah.
is. Here it is, hold on.
okay,
It's,
here you go.
it's working on it. Quick share. It's connected. Is it not pulling up?
Yeah, we can just,
Should ask you to load the quick share for Windows. That one.
You wanna just share with us? We got a long agenda tonight.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So we can just, I
Yeah.
have some papers to give
Let's
y'all
pass those
and
out
talk a
and
little bit
get-
about
I'll
what the
give them
program
out if you wanna
is.
get started.
So, quick background of who I am and what our program is. So, my name is Jenna Morris. I am the coalition coordinator for Safe Kids Savannah. So, we are a childhood injury prevention coalition. We are part of a nationwide initiative to reduce childhood preventable injuries. That includes things like motor vehicle crash injuries, drowning, fire, home safety, concerns like that. So we really focus on reducing this leading cause of death for kids, which is preventable injuries. So in Effingham County, y'all are one of our major counties. We cover, run the Safe Kids Savannah and what I like to call Safe Kids Savannah and the Coastal Empire, because it's more than just Savannah. We cover Liberty, Bryan, Chatham, Effingham, Bullock, and Candler County now. So our program's really focused on child safety, and the biggest project right now is, one of our biggest projects is a new initiative, well, revival of an existing initiative, to bring life jacket loaner boards to public boating ramps around our area. So we were recently awarded several grants, including a 3-year grant from the U.S. Coast Guard to bring this program back to life and expand it throughout our region. So we are working in partnership with our Effingham County Fire Department and Parks and Recreation to put life jacket loaner stations at public access boating ramps and like landings so that people have access to life jackets that can help save their lives. So last year, over the last few years, about 85% of boating-related drownings could have been prevented by wearing a life jacket. So this is a nationally recognized program that is really focused on increasing access as well as kind of having that reminder to wear a life jacket. So if you forgot your life jacket, you can borrow one from the station, put it back when you're done. And it's just an easy way to encourage boaters and swimmers and water enthusiasts to get out and active this summer and throughout the year and prevent them from drowning. So we did have about 300% increase in drownings in our region in the last 4 years. So there has been a significantly increased rate of children as well as adults drowning. So the intention of these boards is to really increase that access as well as that public awareness of boating safety and water safety. So in tandem with this would be a very educational events and awareness campaign about water and boating safety. So right now we have these at 12 boating ramps in Chatham and Bryan County. And we just recently received approval from Liberty County Board of Commissioners to place them at 2 of their boating ramps in Liberty County. So my goal is to get Effingham County approval for this. So I'm working with our fire department. We've identified kind of a few priority ramps to kind of, as funding and volunteers allow. We have the materials, we have the life jackets, really just getting y'all's approval to put these up.
Looking at Tuxeking, Steel Bridge, Tommy Long, how about, is it Abercorn Landing?
Abercorn Landing was also another one we were looking at.
Okay,
So I think you guys have about 5 in the county. I had a little hard trouble. I think we identified with the fire department, we identified about 5.
These are the main ones I've seen.
Yeah, there's some
straight here.
kayak, on smaller waterways,
Yeah.
would be the Tommy Long and, you know.
Steel Bridge, Tuck's King, Tommy Long, and Abercorn be probably the main ones.
And I know there's a lot of swimming that I believe happens at Steel Bridge, and a lot of kayaking and boating, so it's just really a opportunity to,
I would think the information that you put up under the little thing is important as anything, because do the life jackets hang around very long, or do people kind of tend to hang on to 'em?
sometimes they disappear, a lot of times they stay up there. So the goal is to have volunteers. We will have our volunteers that are involved to frequently check on the boating ramps and restock, as well as pull ones off that are damaged.
Okay.
So have a kind of an inspection process, like weekly, that somebody can just go out there, look at them, make sure that they're still in good condition, and that there's still life jackets out there.
Very good. I got one question for our attorney, and you might have to research this, you might get the answer to it. Do we take on any liability if we do something like this and say a life jacket was damaged, a strap was not secured? Would that create any liability for us if a child was injured due to a poor life jacket?
I could see in the realm of possibility, yeah. If something bad like that happens, they're always looking for someone to be on the hook for it. So, I mean, I would imagine if something like that happened and there was a lawsuit that we would be drug into it. If I can just finish, please. So, we would probably need some sort of an agreement if we were to do this to kind of set the parameters and identification if there's any insurance policies in place, so forth. I'm sure probably these other counties may have something to go by as well.
What we currently have on there is a posted liability statement saying that the user assumes risk for use and non-use of life jackets, as well as assumes the risk to kind of inspect the life jacket and make sure it's appropriate for the size of the user and that it's in good condition. This is not intended to completely replace user responsibility. It's to supplement
Sure.
the people that didn't bring one.
Yeah, I'm just thinking
So-
in this environment, unfortunately, it's where we live.
Yes, it is a
People
nationwide
looking for-
initiated program through the
I can
Coast
almost
Guard.
see if we didn't agree to something like this and somebody drowned, they're saying you had an opportunity to.
Yes.
Yeah, they're gonna sue for something. I think it'd be good if we move forward with this, to put it on an agenda to approve that we get what other counties are doing, what some legal documents, put as much protection as, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's just posting that, hey, that's like generally what it is you're posting a liability statement with the sign, hey, you are assuming the liability with the risk using this life jacket. This is just here to provide a resource.
Yeah.
So,
It doesn't always protect you, though. That's just
Yeah.
that's just the reality of the legal world.
oh,
But
definitely.
it's good to have it on there.
Yeah, because certain questions like at some point, I guess the useful life of a life preserver. When does that happen? Is anyone going to be inspecting them to make sure the appropriate straps are there, that they're doing what they're designed to do? Because I think it's a great idea. But like anything else, the great idea is great at the beginning, but as time goes on, it's the maintenance and who's responsible for it now at this point. So those are the things we definitely need to look into.
Oh, definitely. And so our coalition we are a coalition. We partner with other organizations and agencies. So Safe Kids is housed out of Memorial Health. And so they are kind of our lead sponsor, as well as the U.S. Coast Guard has granted us these funds. So we are really working to kind of look at sustainability of this project and working with local community organizations, including the Legion, as well as our fire department and sheriff's office, to check on them as part of their kind of regular routes. So they're
good.
very excited to be involved with this project.
Well, I think the commission would probably be wanting to move forward
Yeah.
with this and
work
just
out the-
let our
whatever,
staff
yeah,
work out with our attorney, how that we can best protect ourselves from
Absolutely.
somebody who wants to sue us for no reason at all.
Yeah, I mean, kids could drown without one, so it's better, our policy is really, around the country, is better to give them something that can prevent their drowning than,
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I think it's a great
Yeah.
program. Just want to make sure I look at some of the I's and
Absolutely.
T's that we need to dot and cross.
so.
Yeah, thank you for what you're doing. Sounds like a great thing, and I think the board's got the support. We'll just ask our staff to get with you and bring something together that we could approve that our attorney would
And I
agree
do
to.
have the graphics and stuff that have been designed, including that liability statement that are in there. We can also discuss what logos you want to have on the signage at your boating ramps in Effingham County. But really, it's just kind of moving forward and getting these up and built. Our fire department staff are gonna be working with, some of them are volunteered to build the stations.
Well, I
So-
don't hear any objections from anybody on the board. I think they're very in favor of it, so
Yeah.
I would say, Tim, if you could get with, Ms. Jenna, and y'all work out something to propose, logos and whatever, and documents that we need to sign, we'll move forward with it.
That sounds good.
Are there any funding involved from the federal government? You said this is a nationwide initiative?
So we received funding from the U.S. Coast Guard. They gave us a 3-year grant from the U.S. Coast Guard for this specific project. But in addition to that grant funding, I have since leveraged that grant and received some donations from Home Depot Foundation, as well as the Bass Pro Shop and several other local community sponsors to expand as well as sustain this program. So we're really looking at long-term success and, great to get some donation from the federal government, but I really want to make sure we have that local continued support to keep it going.
No, sounds great, appreciate it. I think it'd go a long ways to create some safety for our children, absolutely. I got some
Thank you.
grandbabies that, when we forget their white life rafts, we'll have them.
Yeah, there's something out there.
We'll also be collecting donations of life jackets, but we'll have them looked at before we put
What do
them
you
out.
think? I've probably got a lot of good, that my children have outgrown, that are perfectly good,
Yeah, I probably got some
life
too.
vests that,
Yeah,
that
so
might be
we are actually
something
been
you-
accepting life jackets at the fire department
I
up
mean,
here
they're
in
in good
Effingham.
shape, yeah.
So,
That'd be something good to talk with staff about, setting up something like that where we could have preservers that are in good form to be brought to a certain place to be inspected
Like
and
a
used.
collection site.
Yeah,
and-
click site.
yeah. That would be a great opportunity. We've been doing that in Chatham as well as Bryan and Liberty right now. We have some collection sites we set up for a drive
Okay,
and
sounds
just,
good.
yeah. So I'm excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jen, appreciate it. Is there anything else?
Think so.
Thank you for your time tonight and for your
Thank you.
work, appreciate it. All righty, let's move to our new business, I believe is where we left off. New business number 1 is consideration to approve update change order number 2 for Pond and Company for design and construction management services of a facilities renovation package.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Allison Bruton, the purchasing agent. So the total cost for change order 2 originally, you may recall, was $99,350. The board did approve 50% of that cost and directed staff to work with Pond to reduce the cost and tweak the change order, the scope that was included. So the updated change order in front of you does have some changes. They've removed the Rincon Library, the additional work at the Clio Fire Department, the judicial parking lot, and some additional travel and expenses that were listed. So the updated change order in front of you, that total is $56,980.
Okay. Any questions or discussions from the board?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Floyd to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 2, consideration to approve an agreement with Allbeck Group LLC for professional consulting services for program management.
Yes, sir. So staff did request this proposal from Allbeck Group, as you said, to assist with program management in regards to capital projects. We do currently have an agreement in place with Thomas and Hutton as well. So where Thomas and Hutton is focusing mostly on the horizontal infrastructure projects, Allbeck Group will be focusing on the vertical infrastructure projects. The staff recommends alternative 1.
Okay, any questions or discussions? Motion?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion for alternative 1 by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Deloach. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 3 is surplus property.
Yes, sir. So we have a few vehicles listed on here as well as various equipment from the sheriff's office.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the surplus property list?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve the surplus property list as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 4, consideration to approve a payment of $75,000 toward drainage improvements at Old River Road and I-16.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, this is related to a some long ongoing drainage problems that we have right around the interchange on Old River Road. We've been working with the IDA on this and several property owners. So this is kind of one of those rare occasions where you get everybody to work together. The county's contribution is about a fifth of this. The IDA is kicking in. Some industrial property owners are also providing some funds, and some of the property owners are actually working with us on easements. So it benefits basically every property on that is the side of I-16 that goes towards Chatham, but in Effingham County, and so
But this
we are
is hopefully
recommending
the
approval.
long-term fix.
Yes, so it's been, the IDA has hired, I believe it was Thomas Hutton to do the design on this. And so from their design, it should eliminate the problem.
We've been working on this for several
Long
years,
time.
and
I've driven
I'm
out there and
glad
looked
we're
at it.
finally getting some resolution on this.
Yeah. All right, do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Deloach to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no noes, it passes unanimously. Item number 5, consideration to approve proposal number 160132 from Aqua Aerobic Systems Incorporated for replacement equipment needed at the wastewater treatment plant.
Yes, sir. So the effluent disc filter controllers of the wastewater treatment plant are no longer being produced or supported. And should one fail, the filters would need to be manually operated around the clock. So this proposal is from the current manufacturer of the existing system, and using the same manufacturer will avoid a costly or full replacement. So staff recommends alternative 1.
Where are these filters? Are they in the clarifiers? Where are they at? Is that, I know clarifier was down. Is that what this is about, Tim?
Yes, so we have reduced capacity in the clarifier right now caused by this filtration
Okay,
issue.
so this is going to resolve that.
Yes,
That's why I was wondering. I didn't know where this was in the system.
that's right.
Okay. And when this one's done, both clarifiers will be working then? We're still going to be down one?
I think they've requested a second one and then.
Yeah, but we were just
upcoming
doing the
budget?
first one.
Yeah.
We did the first one already, right? And then, so this would be for the second
So they're
clarifier.
both back in operation for?
Yeah.
Cool, very good. All right. So I just want to make sure I knew where that was coming at.
Do that.
Any other questions or motion to approve alternative 1?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second Mr. Floyd to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no noes, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. And they're still looking at our system overall, right? To just see the things like this that need to be done.
Yes, and so the goal is to try and keep this, keep the current system running until the
To MGD as well.
expansion takes place, and then shut down the old plant for rehabilitation
Okay,
after the new plant comes online.
gotcha. Okay. Item number 6, under new business, consideration to approve to submit an application to the
Gary Sinise?
Gary Sinise Foundation. That's the actor, isn't it?
Captain
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Responder Grant Program. Thank you, sir, for your
Captain Dan.
assistance with pronunciation.
Mark Barnes, Finance Director. Yes, this application is to the Gary Sinise Foundation. They have a first responder outreach grant program. And the fire department is requesting about $29,000 worth of equipment, and there is no cost share requirement for this grant if it's awarded. Staff recommends alternative 1, approve the submittal of the application.
I like Gary more and more. All right, any questions, discussion, or motion for alternative 1?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd, second Ms. Burdette for alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no noes, it passes unanimously. That's Lieutenant Dan, isn't it? Item number 7, consideration to approve resolution 23-008 to amend the fiscal year 2023 budget.
Yes, sir. This amendment has the school resource officers that were approved earlier in the year, and it also includes some of the design costs for the new wastewater treatment plant that we're getting reimbursed from the state grant for, and a radio tower generator that was approved actually in last fiscal year's budget, but due to delays in the manufacturing, we're expecting that to arrive right at the tail end of this fiscal year. Staff recommends alternative number 1, approve the budget amendment.
Any questions, discussion, or motion for alternative one?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then item number 8, the last item of new business, is consideration to approve a request for annexation as submitted by the city of Springfield for property located at 283 Industrial Boulevard, map number 429, parcel number 1B, 1C, 1C01, and 05.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the details are noted there in your packet. We've received another annexation petition from the city of Springfield. Our GIS department has determined, as depicted on the map in your packet, that this property is contiguous with other properties within the city. So staff recommends approval.
Any questions or discussion from anybody on the board? Motion to approve alternative one.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Kiefer to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. So we might go ahead and move to our reports from commissioners, administrative staff, unless we need to go to executive session with the time we have left between now and planning board. Do we have a need for executive session?
I don't.
You want to have executive session to discuss anything that took place today, or?
I don't have a report, so if you want to go through the reports first, and then if we can, then that could take about 5-10 minutes. If we're going to have time, it would be better to discuss it, to kind of give an update.
Okay, all right, we'll see if there's any reports from, start with our administrative staff.
Okay, I've got no, other than I did want to introduce, for those who didn't get an opportunity to meet her, our new Director of Election Voter Registration, Laura Bassett's here.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard. She was our deputy, and she has quickly grabbed one of our employees from HR to become her deputy director. So she's off to a great start.
Yeah, we're pleased to have you, and I hear great things about how you're working with everyone, so that's great. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk?
No, sir, I don't have anything.
Okay, I'll go around the horn.
Two little things. I talked to Tim about this. It seems to be a lot of businesses are putting up these little real estate size signs at every intersection all over the county.
I've seen those, yeah.
And I'm having several people complain that just at some intersections, there'll be 5 or 6 of these from, you name it. Every business seems like they're popping up these signs, and I don't know what the ordinance is, but I think
Litter
you were gonna
control?
send out code enforcement.
Yeah, and so what we've actually, Steve and I had a meeting with code enforcement on that, just to make sure that it was clear that it's a standing policy that if they're out in the field and they drive past a sign in the county-owned right-of-way, that they are it's their obligation to pick it up. In some cases, state routes we can't, we don't maintain, but for any county maintained roads, we will. We will be doing that as standard practice now.
Okay.
There are some other signs that we're starting to see a little bit more of, where folks are starting to put up, kind of off-site commercial size signs, not the little rider signs, right on their residential property. And then we're trying to address that as we see them, because they're not permitted in the residential zone.
The other thing, I had a call today over in Meldrum. It seems that and I think I told the lady that I believe that they're in the right of way, but the railroad must be doing some work over there, and they're storing cross ties right there at the railroad track as you go over Meldrum Road, and parking their trucks and just letting them idle throughout the day. I don't know. Again, I told her I believe that's the railroad's prerogative to do that, but
Yeah, they're their own
if there's
little
a permit
country.
to do anything, but I believe the railroad has rights to do what they want to do.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is. They communicate with us if there is a traffic concern, or there has to be a detour. But other than that, they don't go through us any sort of authorities.
Kind of like
or
those Jordan
permission.
Power guys.
Yeah, they do what they want to do.
Exactly.
That's all I got. Thank you.
All right,
Just a couple things as well. the burn trailer, are we able to do anything as far as an ordinance?
Yeah, and that's a reminder, we did
I gotta ask
have a
Randy this.
meeting with Lee specifically on that, and I think we have to do just a follow-up. There was some takeaways from that about getting the nuisance property ordinance in front of you all to approve. There's still this particular property, there's still a warrant for a bench warrant for the property owner, but they don't live in county. In order for us to act on the property, we're going to have to institute a nuisance property warrant where we can go in there and then try and recoup the costs on a tax bill.
The other thing was the Park West roads, if we make any headway. I know you guys were going to try to coordinate a meeting and.
Where were we on Park West? Okay. I'm going to have to follow up on that one. There is an issue on it, which is the speed bumps, but oh no, there was another neighborhood we're doing the exact same thing to, which is they want to bring their road up to standard. That one's in District 1, and so we're working. That was the one I was concentrating on. I'll do the same thing with Park West.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, a couple of things real quick. There was a gentleman here tonight asking about end-of-school zone signs. You know, when we come to a school zone, we have says school zone, and it tells you reduce your speed 35 or whatever, but it doesn't tell you when it ends. There's no end-of-school zone signs, and I'm thinking he's correct. I'm thinking I don't remember seeing any end-of-school.
They
zones.
have some in some of the school zones for certain.
Can we get somebody just to check on that and see
Yeah,
if there's
I can
not
check
one?
that. And there was also a request. I mean, that's something we can. We have to work with the sheriff on that because
Right. I
they
told you-
handed that
Right.
responsibility over to the sheriff's department with regards to if there's a camera installed.
When
Right.
you pass the camera, right?
Yeah, and so
I figure it's when you pass the camera, but we probably ought to have something that says end-of-school zone just there.
yeah. So I know there's some in some locations, but there's not some. Others have requested flashing lights. Really, I've passed that on to the sheriff's office, and so
I'm getting the flashing light one over at the elementary school.
yeah.
Because they come through, they see the flashing lights of the high school, then they hit the elementary school zone, doesn't have any flashing lights, and they're confused.
Right.
And they get a ticket. So if we could, I'd love to put some flashing lights there on both sides of that when it's effective.
Beginning in the school zone, yeah, make it a little
Just make it
clearer.
more clear for
Make it a
everybody.
little clearer, be good.
Two different ways in two different schools that are pretty close together.
And I was talking to Tim today, I'll just mention to the board, y'all have heard me beat this drum for a long time, and I really want to get our head around it. I almost pulled it from the agenda tonight, but I don't want to lose any funding from the state. On the consent agenda, this prison cost, you know, it was vetoed the $2 increase, which is only $140,000, but it cost us $1.5 million a year right now to have that prison. And I'm calculating we could get 26 wonderful employees probably. They could probably do a lot from janitorial to park maintenance to pothole filling, working with our public works engineers. I just don't know that we're getting that quality. So I told Tim, I've been asking, I've been stressing this, I want to look at the research that Mark has done on this, look at and I'm just making this out here so we can put it on our calendar, make sure our staff knows. Here we are another year, and we can't make a decision now because we lose funding. But before next year, which we got to give them like 6 months lead time if we're going to pull out of the prison, because our contention is we probably could use that as a jail. We're growing community. We would have to either build a jail down the road or get the state to pay us more funds for housing their inmates, because I don't believe we're getting a goodie out of it. But I want to research that. So with the board's approval, I want to task the staff to get with the chairman. Let's see the numbers, and let's come up with a proposal, make sure we have a good idea. Can we get 26 good employees versus 40 or 50 or 60, whatever we're getting from the inmates that may not be the same production? I just think we're spending a lot of money for something that we're not getting the value for. So,
And if
Read
I think
that to
we're
them one
trying to
more time.
arrange something this week with you, to go over the spreadsheet on that, see if we can tweak it and get the numbers that you need.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at it, because I've done a lot of analysis with other counties, and so I'll be able to look at that in relation to those types of analysis. So to me, that's really, that's 1.5 million, that's almost a half a meal that we're spending on that. Make sure we're getting the goodie. And other items I've already talked with Tim about, so I'll get with him on those. Mr. Deloach?
Tim, I do have one item, but I can text you about that later this week. Just, I guess, a reminder for the board, the personal financial disclosures are due this month, correct? So if y'all haven't turned those in, just don't forget that, because you'll get fined and be on the naughty list with the state. The other reminder, just if you haven't turned in your T-Splosh list, try to get those into Tim, just so we can start trying to put those together and we can start trying to figure out which project's gonna be a priority.
In fact, you're gonna give us a list.
Yeah, and I have it. I was actually going to try and finish it today, but I didn't have time. So I have a spreadsheet with recommended projects for all of your districts, and then you can all kind of add the ones you know just from feedback that need to be added on there.
Sorry to sound like a do-gooder, but I just want to make sure, I mean, this is really important. I just want to make sure we get these lists in time, because I know, what do we want to try to kind of have them finalized by August maybe, or
Yeah,
a little
I would say
before that
the
maybe?
beginning of August.
Okay.
And I've let the I've let the cities know they should be working on their lists. I gave them the draft of the IGA, and so we're a little bit ahead of time than we were last time, just simply because last time around we hadn't done this before. So hopefully it'll be a little bit smoother. The most difficult thing is the list.
Okay, that's all I got.
Very good.
I think y'all covered mine.
Okay. All right, I think, is anything from our staff that, all right, we've got a few minutes before our public hearings begin. I could use a quick restroom break, so I'm gonna go ahead and, call for a break for about 5 minutes, if you wanna take a quick break and then come back together, okay? We're here for public hearings, we'll be back in about Good. All right, we're going to go back into regular session, and we're going to begin our planning board hearings tonight. And so if you're here for a planning board hearing, be ready when it comes up. We have a long list tonight, so what I'd like to do on some of the items that appear to be pretty rapid fire, I don't want to take a lot of time with them. I'll read the item, and then I'm going to open a public hearing and ask if there's anyone that would like to speak for or against. You don't have to speak for if this is your item, unless you want to, but I'm going to do it both at one time to give public access to a hearing, but rapidly close that hearing if there's no opposition, so we can take a vote and move rapidly. Does everybody kind of understand what I'm saying? If it comes to your item and I ask for or against, you don't have to speak unless you want to. And we'll try to get the vote and get it moving and get you out of here and home to your family, okay? All right. Planning Board hearings tonight. The first one is the Planning Board recommends approving the application by Jacob Holland and Sharon Holland as agents for Martha E. Zettler to rezone 5.5 acres located at 1092 Stillwell Road, AR1 to AR2, to allow for a 3-lot subdivision in the 4th District. I'm also going to suggest that our staff, if that's okay with the attorney, forego any lengthy description of this, because we've had our agenda, we've read it. If we have a question, then we can get more detail from her, and that'll help us move rapidly. Is that okay with you, Mr. Lee?
It is.
Okay, all righty. So we have this item. Is there anyone that'd like to speak for or against this rezoning request? Does the board need more information other than what's in our packet?
Did you read it? You need to read the description, I think.
That's a good point.
I think that's what our clerk is
That's a good point.
asking.
Good try.
I'm really moving this along fast, aren't I?
I do like the
I like the idea.
speeding it up, but
I was gonna make it really fast. All right, the first item is the planning board recommends approving an application by Jacob Holland and Sharon Holland as agents for Martha E. Zettler to rezone 5.5 acres located at 1092 Stillwell Road from AR1 to AR2 to allow for a 3-lot subdivision, map number 409, parcel number 38 in the 4th District. Anyone here tonight speaking for or against this rezoning? Does the board have a need for additional information? Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff and planning board recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve with staff and planning board recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. And we'll move to our second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Jacob Holland and Sharon Holland as agents for Martha E. Zettler to rezone 5.5 acres located at 1092 Stillwell Road from AR1 to AR2 to allow for a 3-lot subdivision, map number 409, parcel number 38 in the 4th District. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Kiefer to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. Item number 3, a public hearing is being held. The planning board recommends approving an application by Dana Butler as agent for Butler Estates LLC to rezone 9 acres located at 147 Cedar Drive from AR1 to AR2 to allow for a 3-lot subdivision, map number 302, parcel number 77 in the 1st District. We'll open a public hearing. Is anyone that would like to speak for or against this rezoning? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Does the board need any additional information or have a motion?
We have a motion to approve the application.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd to approve the application with planning board and staff recommendations, right? And a second by Mr. Burdette. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. Item number 4, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Dana Butler as agent for Butler Estates LLC to rezone 9 acres located at 147 Cedar Drive from AR1 to AR2 to allow for a 3-lot subdivision, map number 302, parcel number 77 in the 1st District. We'll open a public hearing. Anyone wanting to speak for or against this rezoning? Oh, this is the second reading,
This is
I'm
just
sorry.
second reading.
Yeah, second reading.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Kiefer to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. Item number 5 in the public hearings, the planning board recommends approving an application by Dennis Jones request a variance from section 3.3.1B, which requires a 5-foot building setback from the side property line to allow for the placement of an accessory structure located at 121 Royal Oak Drive, Zone R1. This is map number 352A and parcel number 47 in the first district. We'll open a public hearing. Anyone tonight speaking for or against this variance?
Sorry, no, sir.
That's okay.
It's like you missed a podium.
It's a flyby. I was trying to go too fast anyway, so I got everybody going fast now. All right, is anyone tonight speaking for or against this variance request? Does the board need any additional information on this variance request and what's in your packet? All right, is there a motion? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the request for the variance.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Deloach to approve.
Let me make sure with staff and planning board recommendations.
Yeah, staff and planning board recommendations. And seconds by Mr. Deloach with staff and planning board recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 6, consideration to approve a second reading of an application by Dennis Jones requesting a variance from section 3.3.1B, which requires a 5-foot building setback from the side property line to allow for the placement of an accessory structure located at 121 Royal Oak Drive, Zone R1, map number 352A, parcel number 47 in the first district. Motion for the second reading.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Burdette to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Next item is a public hearing. The planning board recommends approving an application by Cheryl D. Heinley to rezone 5 acres located at 104 Maple Drive to allow for division of the property from AR1 to AR2, map number 450D, parcel number 27 in the second district. We'll open a public hearing. Anyone tonight wanting to speak for or against this rezoning? Ma'am, did you want to
I
speak?
just wanted to say that this is my third meeting, because it's also in here on number 8 for the second reading. So I've already done that. I've already had, this is my third meeting.
Third meeting.
Yeah.
Right, that's correct.
What's that?
So
Go to
it's
planning
also
board.
on here for number 8.
Oh, yeah, you've had the planning board. This is the Board of Commissions. We have the final say on
Okay,
the
I
on the
got
approval.
you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. I
That's the,
didn't know.
they have to hear it first, and then we hear it after that for the final approval.
They make a recommendation.
Recommendation. Yeah,
Okay.
no problem. All right, anyone speaking in favor or against? Seeing no one, does the board, I'll close the public hearing. Does the board need additional information? Or is there a motion?
Make a motion that we approve alternative 1 with staff and planning board recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Kiefer to approve alternative 1 with staff and planning board recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. We'll have the second reading, consideration to approve a second reading of an application by Cheryl D. Heinley to rezone 5 acres located at 104 Maple Drive to allow for division of the property from AR1 to AR2, map number 450D, parcel number 27, second district. Motion?
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second Mr. Floyd to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. And so you will have no more meetings from this one. It's done.
I told her that.
Okay, Shirley left. Okay. Good. My, people move so quickly around here. Item number 9. Another public hearing. The planning board recommends approving an application by Ingrid J. Williams to rezone 5.46 of 7.4 acres from located at 451 Highway 17 South from AR2 to AR1 to allow for a recombination of adjacent parcels, map number 295 and parcel number 52 in the 3rd district. Open a public hearing and see if there's anyone who would like to speak for or against this rezoning request. Seeing no one coming forward, I'll close the public hearing and see if the board needs any additional information besides what's in their packet.
I'll make a motion to approve with planning board and staff recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette, to approve with planning board and staff recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 10, consideration to approve a second reading of an application by Ingrid J. Williams to rezone 5.46 of 7.4 acres located at 451 Highway 17 South from AR2 to AR1 to allow for a recombination of adjacent parcels, map number 295, parcel number 52 in the 3rd district. Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Floyd to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 11 is a public hearing. The planning board recommends approving an application by Cedrex L. Woods as agent for Juanita Woods to request to rezone 1 acre located at 668 West 3rd Street from AR1 to AR2 to allow for division of the property, map number 367A, parcel number 42 in the 3rd district. We'll open a public hearing and see if anyone would like to speak for or against this rezoning request. Seeing no one coming forward, does the board have a need for additional information besides what's in your packet?
I'll make a motion to approve with planning board and staff recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve with planning board and staff recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 12, consideration to approve a second reading of an application by Cedric L. Woods as agent for Juanita Woods, request to rezone 1 acre located at 668 West 3rd Street from AR1 to AR2 to allow for the division of property, map number 367A, parcel number 42 in the 3rd district.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 13, under public hearings, the planning board recommends approving an application by Anita M. Bruce for a variance from section 5.1.1 and 5.1.2.5 to allow for the placement of a third dwelling located at 255 Clyde Road, Zone AR1, map number 390, parcel number 8D in the 4th district. We'll open a public hearing and see if there's anyone that'd like to speak for or against this variance request. Seeing no one coming forward, we'll close the public hearing and see if the board would like more information besides what's in their packet or a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve with staff and planning board recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Burdette to approve with staff and planning board recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 14, consideration to approve a second reading of an application by Anita M. Bruce for a variance from section 5.1.1 and 5.1.2.5 to allow for the placement of a third dwelling located at 255 Clyde Road, Zone AR1, map number 390, parcel number 8D in the 4th district.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Floyd to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. The planning board recommends number 15, approving an application by Gary Neidlinger to rezone 8.8 acres located on Charles Lane from AR1 to AR2 to allow for a 3-lot subdivision, map number 469, parcel number 15 in the 4th district. Open a public hearing. Is there anyone tonight speaking in favor or against this rezoning request? See no one come forward. Does the board need more information besides what's in your packet, or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff and planning board recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve with staff and planning board recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. We have the second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Gary Neidlinger to rezone 8.8 acres located at Charles Lane from AR1 to AR2 to allow for a 3-lot subdivision, map number 469, parcel number 15 in the 4th District.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Loach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, second reading passes unanimously. Item number 17, under public hearings, the planning board recommends approving an application by Gary Nidlinger for a variance from section 6.2.12, parentheses 1, the restriction that a private unpaved road may serve no more than 3 lots located on Charles Lane, zoned AR1, proposed zoning AR2, map number 469, parcel number 15 in the 5th District. Now, I'm confused here. For a variance for proposed AR2 zoning, have we already approved the AR2 zoning?
We have, but this is served by unpaved road. So
Okay.
we have to, the unpaved road serves more than 3 parcels, so we have to do the variance for that.
So the two AR2's already been,
Yeah, we've already approved the rezoning, so now this is just the road access.
very good. Anyone tonight opening a public hearing wanting to speak for or against this variance to allow this? Seeing no one coming forward, I'll close the public hearing. Anything from the board?
How many will it serve? How many houses? My packet's kind of jumbled up.
Basically, this is the history on this. We had a lot of discussion on this over a year ago. I previously had to recuse myself because my sister owned property next to these parcels. Since then, my sister has sold her parcel. She has no ownership there. That's why I didn't recuse myself tonight. But there's probably about around 12 or 13 parcels down there.
Fish camps than
It's,
they
it's
are
not
primary.
really, it's not personal residences. I mean,
River lots.
yeah. It's right on the Savannah River.
Pretty common to have that anyway.
Yeah.
Something you wouldn't want paved, really. All right. Any other discussion or a motion to approve the variance?
Make a motion, we approve the variance.
Second.
Motion, Ms. Burdette, and I think I heard Mr. Floyd slip it in there on the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, the variance is approved. We have the second reading on this variance, consideration to approve a second reading of an application by Gary Nodlinger for a variance from section 6.2.12, parentheses 1, the restriction that a private unpaved road may serve no more than 3 lots located on Charles Lane, zone AR1, proposed zoning AR2, map number 469, parcel number 15 in the 4th District.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Loach, second, Mr. Burdette, to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 19, a public hearing. The planning board recommends approving an application by Randy Haddon, Jeremy Neese, and Chuck Hildebrandt to rezone 102.67 acres located at US Highway 80 from AR1 to B3 to I1 to allow for warehouse development, map number 354, parcel number 21, 21B, 21C in the 1st District. And I'm going to turn this over to planning board to give us a description first of this request.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen. One of these parcels came to you not too long ago and was denied conditional use for shipping containers. It is now back with these 3 parcels being considered for a 1.16 million square foot warehouse. The only other thing that I'll point out that is not readily apparent is that the planning board did add 4 conditions, which I believe Mr. Morgan is going to address some of those, including platting a non-access easement to protect and keep any access off of George Road, adding a berm within the 300-foot buffer along George Road, and location of the truck court, and all future sketch and development plans shall show lighting design in a manner that site lighting is not visible from George Road, and the sketch plan will be later on the agenda. Planning board and staff recommend approval.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing, and anyone speaking in favor of this rezoning request?
Mr. Chairman, Doug Morgan, EMC Engineering. Katie, did you put the stuff up, the site plan in the cross-section that I sent you?
We got, here's your, yeah.
Go back. That's not the latest site plan, that's the cross-section view. We have a site plan. It shows the berm incorporated into the buffer, just as the cross-section view, because one of the conditions of the planning board, they wanted us to show kind of what the buffer would look like between the residence on George Road and the actual building itself. So at the planning board, we talked about, instead of reducing the buffer and adding berm, we'd keep the buffer and incorporate a berm inside the buffer and utilize the existing vegetation that's in the buffer. And in areas where there is inadequate vegetation, we would add it. And on this that I have, and I have 5 copies if y'all want a copy of it.
How big is the berm?
10 foot tall at 3 to 1. That's 65 foot wide. She had a picture of the berm.
And that
Sorry, I was
includes
looking.
the 300-foot buffer.
Correct. It would be, and if you look at Google Earth, the houses in relation to the property, the existing houses in relationship to their rear property line are anywhere from 150 to 190 feet away. Then we have a 300-foot buffer. There is some vegetation in areas.
Now, is the buffer all the way down the property line, or?
I put the buffer the entire length. Jeremy, give me those things.
I just didn't hear you clearly on where you said where there was heavy vegetation. I thought you weren't gonna have the berm in certain spots.
No, I put the berm
All the way down?
along the entire.
Okay,
On the George Road side, correct?
okay.
But if you do a 10-foot high berm with 3 to 1 side slopes, that's 30 foot on each side. I got a 5-foot top, and there'll be vegetation on top.
Okay.
And then the berm would start about 30 foot behind the building, just to allow for access, get drainage away from the building, that kind of stuff. And then you can see on there where the 9 lots on George Road end that back up to this property, there's a strip of this property that touches George Road, and the planning board asked for a 10-foot non-access easement so that there will never be any access off of this property onto George Road, or access from George Road onto this property.
Okay,
All loading will be on the opposite side of George Road. All lighting will be
And there's a
facing the
note.
way.
Correct. There's a note in the bottom of the site plan in the right-hand corner about all lighting shall face away
On
from
the entrance.
George Road.
Okay.
all right, thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor of this rezoning request tonight? Anyone tonight that would like to speak in objection against this rezoning request?
Y'all know I can't keep my mouth shut. I gotta come say something. I do appreciate what y'all did. It looks good. I do have a couple of concerns and some of them were brought up at the planning board meeting. One, there was a big discussion about a well. And my concern is the type well, hopefully, it won't affect our water in the subdivision. That's one thing I'd like to make sure of. And I guess y'all are the ones to ask. Second thing would be operating hours.
I think it stipulated 7 to 7, didn't it?
That's what I thought I read in our packet was 7 to 7.
Because I don't think we heard that last time, did we?
Let me
I
check.
may have
It was in
been.
that was in the Ryan Thompson motion, I believe. Yes, item number 7. Well, wait a minute. That's the land clearing site development activities are limited to 7 to 7 during construction.
That was my next question.
Yeah, during construction, it's 7 to 7.
Good question.
That was gonna be my next question, is construction hours.
Yeah, that's
They're gonna
7
be
to 7.
limited to 7 to 7, no midnight hours, pouring cement and all that crazy stuff like you do everywhere else.
By this, it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay?
But
That was the
but
things I wanted to make sure.
Trucking hours were not limited to that, were they?
No, the operation hours, it doesn't mention that.
So what are the operation hours? 24 hours a day?
I don't know.
Well, we would like it to be daytime, if possible. Because we gotta live across the street from it.
What's the width of that building, Doug? Basically.
595 by,
So we're at 600 feet there, a 300-foot buffer. That's over 1,000 feet.
Okay. You wanted 1,000 feet in front of your house?
If it
I
was
don't.
being, I'm not gonna argue that.
Just saying,
I understand what everybody wants.
okay? As long as y'all get it.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking of, that
I don't see,
I think trucks will probably have to come in there when they can get there. I would think they'd probably be unloading and loading during normal business hours.
that's what I would
But,
think, but I'm
but
not
the
gonna
trucks are gonna pretty much come in when they get through, and they'll maybe drop it, you know what I'm saying?
It depends on the port. I mean, the port starts operating second shift and they could go into the
On
night.
that.
Right now, there's not a second shift that I'm aware of, but we've had one recently until it slowed down.
I think it'd be hard to
Concrete
rec-
guys are going to be really upset. They can't do a night pour on a slab this size, which I get it as construction. But
well, we have a noise ordinance that would address that.
I'm just saying on those big industrial jobs, being in concrete business, I mean, previously, I
You
mean,
can't pour them in a day, can you?
They don't
Excuse
pour
me?
during the day.
not those big slabs.
You can't pour them in a day.
Depends on what time of the year, but I don't know if they've already, you know, they definitely won't pour a slab that size in the next few months during the daytime, especially when the humidity shoots up.
Wonderful.
But,
Okay,
which I know right now, all we're doing is
Discussion.
approving rezoning, but that's just.
I mean, the
that's-
construction is short-term, so I mean, it's worth the discussion. I wouldn't get bogged down with that, but it's worth having a discussion.
But it's one of the conditions that's in here, so if you approve it, you're approving it with that condition. And so
Well-
you need to
Well, it
remove
does
or not.
grant, which our ordinance does grant, yeah.
You got some comment there, Tim?
yes, I'm trying to find this. Oh, yeah, here we are. So it does give a, exception that, it's
That's
7 to 7 AM to PM, unless, I approve a night work. It gives the county manager authority to approve a night work,
That would address Commissioner
permit.
Deloach's concern that
And I think the reason they did that, I was not at that meeting, but I'm assuming the reason they did that was because if it's something like pouring concrete, that we've dealt with this in other instances where we work with, we put conditions on the concrete company with regards to noise and backup sensors, where they have to actually use flaggers and stuff like that in those instances, and that we've permitted it just for the concrete pour and not the clearing.
The other construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, clearing, I agree with this, but I understand what Jamie's saying. He was in the business for a while.
Yeah,
So I understand with the concrete, it may have to operate at night.
And like I said, I don't know of any construction timeline, and it may be some point later, and it may work out fine to do it during the day, but I just didn't want to be fair on both sides.
All right.
but it sounds like there is an opportunity for the manager to step in if that's necessary. All right, anyone else speaking in opposition to this tonight?
and Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yeah, sure.
address one of Mr. Steele's other concerns. On that plan you see there, we have an area set aside, for, an on-site septic system, because there is no industrial waste for what we're showing here now. It'll just be bathroom, sinks, that kind of stuff. There's suitable area for that. As far as the well, had to reach out to EPD, and there are two criteria. This will not be served by a private well, and I think that was one of the stipulations that the planning board put in there, that this would not be served by a private well. The owners have reached out to Don Smith's company, Utility Management, who could put a well in, because EPD has two rules: if it serves more than 100,000 gallons in a day, or if it serves more than 25 people. We don't know that; it probably will. So they will have to, because there is no county water and sewer in this area of the county, they will have to partner with a private utility company they will install the well and give it to them to manage.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else speaking in opposition to this request tonight?
Hello, gentlemen. Latita Schuman. I live on George Road. I'm the third house from the property there. I am here not to ask for concessions. I'm not here to ask for a berm. I'm here to ask you to say no. We don't want this. We don't want any more warehouses in Effingham. We don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. You're our representatives. Listen to your county, listen to your people. I understand growth. I'm an engineer myself. I'm in growth. We don't got to do this. Hilton Head, they don't have ports. You can say no. It's an option. On your website, I just went to, this is industrial, heavy industrial. Warehousing is one of the, it's listed as item 8, and it says doesn't meet all of the requirements and the provisions. The effect on traffic flow along the adjoining streets? No, it does not. A warehouse of this capacity will not, our infrastructure is not in place in Effingham County. It will not be able to carry what these trucks are wanting to bring in. It's just not going to be able to do it. I mean, we can see if we even look at the IKEA plant, it's just not happening. It's already a nightmare. Well, the ingress and egress of the property, it's 1 million square foot, over 1 million square foot warehouse on 100 acres. Oh, a little over 100 acres. Pretty much covering the entire space. No size berm is going to stop us from seeing this from our back doors, my backyard. It's not going to happen. The hours of operation, you can say 7 to 7. You already pointed out the concrete pour. I'm in industry. It's never stuck to that. Heavy industrial, it becomes an environmental nightmare. Our county currently, we are residential. It's where people come to raise their kids. Our schools are phenomenal. When you say I live in Effingham, people say, oh, that's a nice place. We're not gonna hear that anymore. When you let this come in, once you open that door, in planning, they said this, if you tell one person yes, you can't say no to the next person. So once you open that door, the neighbor that also has a big piece of property, he's gonna be right up here handing you his appeal for an industrial. The next neighbor, because it's big money, I get it. I understand they want money. But us little people right there on George Road, us little people, us residents in Effingham County, those homes that you were looking at right there, that's our retirement plan. That's our livelihood. That's our sanctuaries. And it's about to be erased. Some people, one of our neighbors, she's in her 90s. This is, I mean, she has spent her entire lifetime building on this.
Sure.
And it's about to be erased. It's very difficult for us not to make this personal. I understand that. This is business, but it's hard for us because it's very personal. So I'm just please listen to the vote of the many, not the vote of the few. Our representatives represent your people. Effingham, we don't have to do this. We don't have to follow suit.
Gotcha. Well said.
10 years in the future, this is going to be an environmental nightmare. There is going to be so much, our roads, everything. You gentlemen are choosing our future. Please, it's got to stop somewhere.
Thank you. Your point's understood, and I appreciate it. Anyone else tonight speaking in opposition?
I'm Dennis Hales. I live 2 more doors down from Tita. We'll be about in the center of it. I agree with most everything that she said there and all. I still work. I'm 72 years old, but I still work. We wired warehouses. They built one in Georgetown one time, and we were pouring concrete out there on it. I do electrical work, but they were pouring the concrete. It was close to a subdivision, and the cop came out there and told the superintendent, if he didn't shut it down right then, he's going to jail. And back then, they wasted $58,000 worth of concrete. Now it'd be $150,000 probably from that time that it was done. So it is a lot of noise. The concrete part is probably the noisiest part of that construction that goes on out there. They pour the slab and then they pour a lot of the stuff on top of it. But nevertheless, that's my opinion on it. The other thing is, if what Tita said a while ago is it's going to open up everything on 80 over there. One of our neighbors across the street has already got people hanging notes and stuff on their door wanting to buy their property. So both sides of 80, I know all the way to probably all the way to the river is going to end up if it's possible. And if y'all been down 280, you've seen the houses that were tore down. They're nicer than the house I got, and I got a nice house to put warehouses on. So I think it's going to open the floodgates. That's the worst part about it. If it was just this warehouse and nothing else would happen, it might be better than having a subdivision back there, but it's not going to be just that. It's going to get worse and worse. I wanted to ask y'all respectfully. I wanted to ask you some couple of questions, but we feel like, and I don't, and shouldn't feel this way, but sometimes we feel like that we need to fight, and I don't want. That's y'all got a job to do, and we're worried about our property. So I don't mean that, but it always seems like no matter what the developer wants, there's more attention to him than it is to us, and it seems that way. And I've talked with Forrest before, and he's mentioned that if y'all okay one of these, you've got to okay the rest of them because y'all gonna get sued or something like that. I don't know. And the only other, I was wondering, do y'all have, and this is respectfully asking, do y'all have the authority to say no and not get in trouble to them?
I would.
I'm asking respectfully, if you don't want to answer that, I'm just curious.
No, I don't mind, give me just a second. I think if we have reason to say no,
Okay.
like the land use plan, for example.
Yes.
If we have certain areas we've designated, if we have legitimate reasons to say no, we can say no, but we couldn't do it just flippantly because that becomes.
I know, because when we've been here several times, and then we're sick of being here from way back, and Forrest helped us one time when they were going to cut up logs and put them in containers across the street, and he shot that down before he even got up. Mr. Burnett, last time, they were going to put containers on the same property back there. A warehouse would be a lot better than containers, but still, you know, and that got shot down. We're thankful for that. It's just, it's a lot. I mean, you know, I built my house in '85, and a lot of these people before then, their parents built their houses, and they're still in them. So, and you always hear safety. We've talked about school buses that stop out there, about a wreck when somebody got killed right behind the school bus. We've talked about no turn lanes and stuff like that. To me, those are good reasons until these things are done. I understand they're going 4-lane 80 all the way to Statesboro, but it's not 4-lane yet. It's 2-lane where we're at. So anyway, I just wanted to share those few thoughts with y'all, and I appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Let me ask real quickly, those who are agreeing with the comments that were tonight that have already been made, if you're here for this item and you're agreeing with the constituents that just expressed those requests, could you just stand up so I can see who's here tonight from that area? So all of you are kind of saying the same thing, same issues. Or if you got a new issue related to that, I wanted the board to see how many were speaking to those particular issues. If you've got another issue with it, lift that up and then we'll move on.
Good evening, thank y'all. My name is Melissa Steele, and I'm also on George Road. And one of the points that Mr. Burdette brought up last time was in regards to the traffic backup and the truck backup right through what he had showed in pictures that was happening on Highway 21, where there is 4 lanes and there are good turnoffs. And right at George Road, from 17 and 80 all the way through Statesboro, there's not 4 lanes yet. And like the accident that just happened the other day where a motorcyclist was going around a truck, you know, of course that was fault of whoever's, but going around an 18-wheeler hitting head on, if a truck is pulled over on the side of the road, there's not much room to get around them. And so that's just one of our concerns too, is not being able to get out of our road if the trucks have to pull over to wait to get in there. I'm not in the logistics field, but I just want to point out that was one thing that Mr. Burdette brought up last time in regards to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I'll take one more, then I'm going to close the public hearing, let the board have some discussion. If you get anything different, I would encourage you to share that, but if it's the same, we kind of got a feel for who all is expressing the same concerns. Okay. One last. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Sharon Hales. I live on George Road. My husband Dennis has already spoken. Listening to the discussion, I guess that engineer was talking about, all these things that we're coming up with, water, sewer, they're not in place. It's like we're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. We're trying to make something that isn't. And I remember you mentioning about if we open it up with the other, if you put industrial where it doesn't belong, there's problems. And then you have to go to other places where it doesn't belong.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
So,
All right. I'm going to appreciate the comments. Now I'm going to close the public hearing, and then we'll,
Address one.
you can address what she just brought up, and then we're going to discuss as a board.
And we talked about this at the planning board, just to, so everybody's aware, just if this does get approved tonight, they can't go to work tomorrow. There's a whole nother process of design that has to be done. And part of that, we're tying into a state DOT road. Y'all don't have the say-so on that road, the DOT does. So I'm sure there'll be a traffic study and the trips per day in and out will be addressed to determine left turn pockets, decel lanes, that kind of stuff. So the DOT has all say-so in everything we do to tie into their road. That's all.
Very good. All right, we're closing the public hearing. We'll have discussion with the board. Any discussion or comments from the board?
Yeah, I want to make some comments. Of course, we've been working with this for a couple of years now, and it's gonna, somebody made the comment that, you know, it's all residential. Everything in Effingham County was agricultural and residential at one time. As this property changes hands, people don't want to farm, people inherit it, they want to do different things. These folks bought this property to, they're going to build houses, they're going to build apartments, they're going to do containers. We shot that down. They decided now they came before us for industrial. There's other industrial parcels along Highway 80. Highway 80 is a state truck route. They have given the 300-foot, they have followed, this is my belief, if you own a piece of property and you follow the rules, it's your property, period. These people have tried to hit everything in the ordinance to address that and some. I understand there's going to be some construction at night, that's temporary. There's going to be possibly some truck traffic, there may be some light. If there was 400 houses behind you, there's going to be a lot of traffic, there's going to be a lot of light, there's going to be a lot of noise. It's going to change. Everything in this county is changing. Nobody likes it. But if you don't own it, you don't control it. I understand your concern, but I've got to have more than I don't like it because it's changing to deny this. It's that simple. You have a right to utilize your property if you follow the rules. It is that simple for me. And I've said this a dozen times. But I'll let somebody else talk.
Well,
That's my 2
you know,
cents.
most times you and I see pretty much eye to eye. If you want to control property, you got to own it. I see this one a little bit different, Forrest, and I just want to get some input from other commissioners as well. We have some industrial areas that we've planned along Grandview, and we've planned that for years and years to be industrial. Research Forest Tract, years and years we've planned that to be industrial. I-16 corridor, years and years we planned for industrial. The one issue I have with this one is I don't know that we planned that to be industrial from a land use map perspective. And I hear what you're saying,
It's
because
changing.
you,
That's the thing.
I get it, but I've told folks, and I'm talking to them, hey, if you look at what we've done as a board, we have not approved any material industrial sites. This would be a material approval of a new industrial site, which does open for possible more industrial in that area. And if that's what the board wants, I get it, but I see a lot of residential around that, and I just don't know that it fits that area, because what I don't want to have do is people go look for less inexpensive property because they don't want to spend, I'm not saying this is what the developers want to do, but obviously if I can buy property for less money than the 200,000 acre, it cost me to go buy it in a zoned industrial area or a planned industrial area. I'm just not sure it fits this area. One means, didn't we recently talk about one on 80 that was, we were concerned and we convinced ourselves that it's just a warehouse for that utility company, electric company? And that's one reason we approved it, because it wasn't a warehouse.
Well, no, it just wouldn't fit the property. It wasn't industrial, this heavy industrial.
Right.
And I agree, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
If this wasn't just a couple miles from the interstate,
I
on
get
a
it.
state approved truck route, that's what Highway 80's for.
And I know the state's gonna put a lot of money in that.
They are going to put a lot of money, and I understand 100%, but to address Mr. Hales, I'm not giving anybody extra attention. They followed the rules. They followed the rules. Everything that we have in that ordinance, from the setbacks to the berm was extra. They did everything we asked as a board. If there was no other industrial in that area, I understand, and it is going to open up, but again, everything here was agricultural residential at one time. Over there were what's the bypass over there? I used to hunt all that. That was a dirt road.
Yeah.
So I understand. There's people that live over there too.
Yeah, and like I said, normally you and I see eye to eye on this. My only concern is, once again,
I understand.
this is an industrial it's not in an industrial area that we've determined it's gonna be industrial. That's my one concern. You
Why
put a $1
wasn't
million.
it being that close to I-16? I mean, who decided it's gonna be residential?
Well, I guess I'm saying if we do this, we need to go ahead and say, all right, how much of this area, in the land use, people need to know as they buy property, is this the land use we're planning for in this area? Is it gonna be industrial in the future? If it's gonna be industrial and commercial, we need to really change our land use map to reflect that, so people have an opportunity to know where it's going. I mean, that's the other side.
If you look at buying property on state truck route, you can just about assume it's gonna be commercial or industrial in this county at this point.
Yeah, but we have some control over that if we wanna keep it.
But anyway, I'm not arguing,
I know.
we have different views, I understand, it's,
I'm with you. Just giving a little different perspective from my point.
I'm telling you, if we were discussing 400 or 500 or 600 apartments, we'd have the same conversation. It'd be traffic, it'd be noise, it'd be lighting. It'd be the same conversation. It's
I do
gonna
wanna point-
change from, it's not gonna be agricultural anymore.
Yeah, but I see that fitting the area. I'd have a hard time saying no to that plan, and I'd have to say no
There's
to
no water and sewage
constituents if
there.
they didn't
I
want the multifamily or the residential. I'd say, well, that road's designed for that, if they can get the water and sewer worked out. But I just don't see that building fitting this area, but that's me.
I understand.
I just wanted to, I think, just one comment. I know there was a comment that, you know, million square foot building is just filling it up. I just calculated, it's about 23% of the land is being covered by the building, probably another 10% maybe with paving. So a lot of, and actually a lot of the, what we'll call green space, the pervious, intact space is because of that 300-foot buffer. I mean, I don't know the acreage, but that's quite a bit of acreage set aside strictly as buffer. That's always gonna be green, right?
Be changed.
As far as
A lot to consider.
I agree with the chairman, on one sense that as of today, it doesn't look like it really fits in that area, but then I've also seen the new GDOT plan, and, you know, they're gonna be making some major upgrades on Highway 80. It's close to interstate. As far as the design of this, just throwing out the area, but just looking at the design period, they went above and beyond on the berm in the buffer. They did not have to offer that. Also in the packet it says, I think the lighting is facing away from George Road. I think the stipulation that George Road will not be used. It's strictly accessing and exiting on Highway 80.
Yeah, as far as a plan, I gotta admit, they've gone above and beyond in the plan. I'm just looking at the area, and I can't predict. I know they're putting millions of dollars into 80 to improve that. I think it may even be going to 4-lane. So that it's gonna handle a lot of the concerns that I heard tonight from constituents about the traffic and the roads and the access. That's gonna be greatly improved over the next 10 years, but I don't know if that'll happen in
And I will
5
say,
years.
keep in mind, there was, one buffer that this board reduced down. What did we reduce it from? The one that backed up to Jamestown subdivision?
We did a 150-foot, but we
Yeah.
also did a 25-foot
So-
buffer.
Yeah, and they're offering to keep that,
Berm.
and they did that in lieu of a
Berm, yeah.
berm, and which I don't think I supported that variance.
I think as far as the project, they've done an excellent job, and I think these guys would do a great job of the project. I'm just still concerned this doesn't fit the area. And I get it, that in 10 years it would, but there is some determination I think that the board can make to restrict so that areas do keep
There's
character to them.
two issues I have. One is the berm. And it looks really good. I haven't seen one like this. I wished more people would put more thought process into this when they're
They
developing
put
next
great
to.
thought into it, yeah.
Yeah, the berm's too small. For one, the 10 foot's not gonna do a whole lot for noise and everything else. It's not gonna work, but to your point, unless we're gonna make this whole area warehouses, and we all agree that that's what's good, that's what's gonna happen if we approve that tonight. And I'm not ready for that. I think as a board, we need more thought process to go look at these areas, and, cause if you look at the surrounding area, there's nothing but land ready to be developed and a few parcels here and there, and they're gonna get scooped up. And I forgot who mentioned that, but they're exactly right. That's what's gonna happen. We've already seen it happen on Old Augusta.
Nothing's happened on 80.
Not
until
yet.
now. That's correct. Look at 21.
But, I mean, if you look at that area, it's gonna be ripe for more warehousing. And if that's,
Absolutely it
if
will
that's
be.
what you wanna do, but we haven't even planned that or discussed that. I think we're premature on that to be looking at doing that tonight at this juncture. Nobody's even discussed it as a land use till right now.
Is this in our current land use, not current land use, but, because I know it's not, but in the reworking of the land use, have we seen what's gonna be, is this an area that is gonna be recommended for commercial or industrial?
I know it expands, certainly to where this B2 property is, which is the blue property there. And it encompasses some areas that front 80. I don't recall if this particular property was on there. But it does expand from the I-16 corridor to account to some of these larger tracts of land that are undeveloped.
Yeah, I could see some really good PDs and commercial and residential in that area. Like I said, with you, the people have just as many complaints if it was
It's true.
if it was gonna be retail, but I mean, retail and residential fit better together than industrial and residential, in my thoughts, if you're looking at land use. And we do have some authority over land use as we plan what our county's gonna look like. I get the idea we've gotta own it to control it, but.
I
it's a thing.
understand. If I really thought this would be it's not gonna be life-changing any more than 400 apartments, in my opinion. I was raised in Fort Worth, that's all warehouses now. It still backs up to homes right there.
Well, I think if you decide to approve this tonight, you're gonna have to listen perhaps maybe to what, Mr. Burdett's saying, because on Cherokee Road, where we had them put in that 25-foot berm, I think the people, I can't speak for them, but I've ridden by there many times, and I can't hear those trucks on the other side. I can't see the lights, but there's a 25-foot berm along with that 300-foot buffer. And I think it is pretty quiet across from, what's the subdivision?
Jamestown.
No,
No, you're talking about Silverwood. You're talking about Chimney Road.
Silverwood.
Chimney Road,
What did
yeah.
I say? Chimney Road, yeah. And I think that got a good result. You know, we planned for industrial in that area, so eventually they were gonna collide, and they did collide, but we required a 25-foot buffer with that 300-foot
I think we did.
vegetation as well. And I'll tell you, I've been out several times, I can't see anything, I can't hear anything from there, hadn't had any complaints from constituents. So I think if you do approve this tonight, you need to look at something that really protects the residents on the George Road.
Our ordinance stipulates 300 foot.
Yeah, but we have the ability to
Yeah.
when we feel it's necessary to requires something that brings a transition. I forget how it's worded, but there's something in the ordinance, it's when there's a transition, we can ask for some additional things for the transitional.
If all we have to do is check a box, we don't need a board. You know, it's more than just checking boxes.
Right, we have this discussion.
Exactly.
And then we vote.
I mean, I get your point, but
So I would just
are here.
suggest if you decide to approve it tonight, that you look at a little heavier berm. Is that something, can I ask to address that? Would that be something, I think the board's gonna need to know if,
Well, just for my clarification on what Mr. Burdette said, the berm is more of a sketch plan issue. We are already committed to having a vegetated buffer of 300-foot minimum against George Road to incorporate some type of buffer. We went with y'all's 3 options that y'all have, because in y'all's ordinance, if you add a buffer, or if you add a berm, you reduce the buffer. We didn't. We were incorporating the berm inside the buffer, but the more we make the berm, the higher we make it, the wider it gets. And until we go out there and survey, I didn't feel like cutting down large mature trees to put a 10, 16, 25-foot.
It's gonna be a bigger
berm.
footprint, and I get that.
Yeah,
But
so-
as far as noise,
I think working with the height of the berm is more of a sketch plan issue. I think from a zoning stipulation point.
unless you offer it as a condition for the board to consider to approve it. I mean, that's what they
You
did.
know, I think that if they were loading on both sides, but they've turned this, again, it's 600 foot wide, all the loading is gonna be on the opposite side of the building. It's gonna be, with the berm, 1,000 feet. What's a mile?
I mean, that's good.
5,000
They've
feet?
done a good, you guys done a great job.
Well, that's what they did, remember, that's what they did on Cherokee
Fifth of a
Road.
mile,
Cherokee Road, they turned the buildings around so they're loading on the opposite side,
right? Because
but
that's
they put a 25-foot berm
in a
in.
150 buffer.
No, they got a 300-foot buffer there. Isn't that right?
I don't think this berm would serve much of a the building itself is probably dampening
Talking about the one on Hodgeville?
I think it's a visual.
No, it's talking about on
Cherokee
Chimney Road.
I think it's more visual.
Because that was a land use, make sure I'm,
There's only one 25-foot berm we've done, and that's the one on Hodgeville.
Yeah, I think, that was
Cherokee
Tim.
Road, what was the height of
Chimney
that
Road.
berm?
Chimney.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
well,
Chimney Road.
they voluntarily increased the height of that berm because, if you recall, we kind of, we approved that administratively, like they went in with a lower berm,
Chimney,
but they had a bunch of
We
soil.
approved a 12-foot berm.
That's it. They approved a 12-foot
Chimney
berm,
Road, okay.
and we allowed them to go higher, because,
They need to get rid of dirt. So that was just 12-foot berm is all that was approved.
That was approved.
that was approved.
Okay.
Yeah, Hodgeville's the first time
I'm
we've
just,
done
I'm just seeing
25.
that berm went up that high because they need to get rid of the dirt, so, okay.
That's right.
And maybe what I remember was the 12-foot berm or whatever with a 12-foot tree was gonna give them the 25 roughly.
Will we
Anyway, that's a
consider
good berm,
postponing
whatever it
to
is.
Talk about the land use.
So the berm you're proposing now with this application is a 10-foot berm?
That's what's shown on the cross-section view I
That's
sent
what I remember
Katie
seeing.
and Stephen.
All right, I won't belabor the
But we can
discussion.
discuss
Is there any other discussion or comments that the board feels like they need to make before they entertain a motion?
Yeah, I wish we had postponed to discuss the land use, and I'd probably be more on board with it, but think we're
Well,
just
if I
so
get a
up in the
motion,
air.
I need to move forward with it.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve with planning board and staff recommendations, and then whatever construction times need to change, or as far as the concrete, that'll go through our manager, if that has to be done during the construction period.
That's in, that's in the stipulation that they can get a permit to
Okay,
do that. So,
then
so your
motion's with
motion is
planning
to
board and
approve with
staff
planning board and staff recommendations. Mr. Floyd's made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, second by Mr. Kiefer. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no.
no.
All right, so we have 3 yeas, Mr. Floyd, Mr. Kiefer, and Mr. Deloach, and 1 no, Mr. Burdette. With that, it does pass. We cannot do the second reading since we have a no vote, and it'll have to go to the next meeting to do the second. But for those here tonight, the board has approved, except for the second reading, this application for rezoning for I-1. All right, we go to item number 21 under public hearing. The planning board recommends approving application by Francis Ambrose for a conditional use for a rural business located at 2945 Midland Road to allow for a dog boarding facility, map number 373, parcel number 5A in the second district. Ms. Katie?
Yes, the applicant wishes to open a primarily weekend kennel for dog boarding that will accommodate approximately 6 kennels. The applicant meets all the criteria for approval of rural business, intent, structure, square footage, frontage, and is surrounded by family land as well. Staff is recommending approval with emphasis on the condition that before a business license is issued, state license from the Department of Agriculture be submitted.
All right, anyone tonight speaking in favor or against this conditional use request? Seeing no one coming forward, I'll close the public hearing, see if there's any discussion among the board.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Deloach to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Second reading is the consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Francis Ambrose for a conditional use for a rural business located at 2945 Millen Road to allow for a dog boarding facility, map number 373, parcel number 5A in the second district.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Motion by Mr. Burdette. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Floyd to approve second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, the second reading passes unanimously. Item number 23, planning board hearing, public hearing, Planning board recommends approving an application by Jane Leslie Williams as agent for Blue Sky Acres Incorporated for a conditional use located at 729 Ambrose Oakey Road for a rural business to allow for equine therapy facility, map number 285, parcel number 5 in the third district. Ms. Katie?
The application meets all of the criteria for a rural business. The applicant is going to be working out of existing structures. There is plenty of frontage. Staff is recommending approval.
Yeah, this is a great program. I'm very familiar with it, and they do a great job. So, I don't know if you want to speak.
Thank you, Leslie Williams for Blue Sky Acres. I just I don't have anything new to add, just we're very grateful to have found this land, are very eager to get the horses on the land and be able to do the therapeutic riding. And just want to say for our board and staff, it was a big learning experience just to go through this process, and I wanted to thank the planning board staff, in particular Katie and Chelsea, just for walking us through this and working with us. And I think we might be seeing more of you guys in the future as we develop this property. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for what y'all do.
Thank you. It's a good program. Anyone tonight speaking also in favor or against this conditional use? I mean, it's a real business. Seeing no one coming forward, we'll close the public hearing on that. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff and planning board recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Kiefer to approve with staff and planning board recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. I guess that means you won't be boarding any horses at my house. That's fine. That slot's already taken. It's already taken anyway, so. Item number 24 is the second reading, consideration to approve a second reading by an application by Jane Leslie Williams as agent for Blue Sky Acres Incorporated for conditional use located at 729 Ardmore Oakey Road for a rural business to allow for an equine therapy facility, map number 285, parcel number 5 in the third district.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. You got your center, okay. All right, item number 25 and 26. I want some clarification if my clerk could help me with this. We've got item 25 is a public hearing where the planning board is recommending approving an application by Marcus Peterson for a conditional use for a rural business located at 1968 Highway 17 North to allow for firearm sales and hand assembly. This is map number 269, parcel number 20801 in third district. There's a related public hearing tonight on item number 36 where the planning board is recommending approving the application by Marcus Peterson for a variance from the 3.15BH to allow for a rural business located at 1968 Highway 17 North without frontage on a public road zoned AR2, map number 269, parcel number 20A01 in the 3rd District. I'm trying to figure out how can you approve a conditional rural business use without approving the access? If you approve the rural business as a board, have you not automatically approving the access on a private road? Should we consider them at the same time, or?
You can consider them at the same time. The variance should have probably been first.
That's what I'm thinking. So if the board will understand that these are all related, it's the rural use for the firearm sales and handling, and presented that way.